Well, I did this whole thing basically by myself. I went to the Vista Courthouse and I got all the forms and I filled everything out. I had to go to LA and the archives and get all my old divorce decrees and such. And so I did it for about a year and 8 months since last July. And then my daughter just said to me, you know, your ex has an attorney, you better get an attorney. So the next morning, I got right on the computer, and the first company that came out for child support was you guys. And so it was very exciting because I talked to Kathleen Leifer, and she's amazing, and she critiqued it and said, I have somebody for you, and bang, I got Sara. AMT. First of all, I was so impressed by how thorough they were and how nice they were. I mean, and how positive they were, that they thought there would be no issue. Sara basically said, we got it. This is going to be a done deal because it's actually what was owed me. So I wanted to hold Sara's hand through this whole thing, and it was such a pleasant experience. First of all, I'm going to recommend you guys to everybody because I was so impressed by your professionalism and just how well this was all handled. I was at happy hour one night and a friend of mine there, she's my age, and we started talking about this situation, and she says, you know, I never got child support and I got it for like 10 years and then he claimed he had no money. So I said, you go right over to the Vista Courthouse, and last month she was awarded $150 a month for the next 10 years, and this was out of state. And now I talked to her, she called me yesterday, and she said that it's over 1,000, that he's sending more money, they're taking more, so he either felt guilty or realized it was time for him to man up. So it was a win-win for her. So that's the kind of stories I'm hearing, that people are going. I was at Lowe's the other day and talking to a gentleman, and his wife owed him $900 a month, and for 2 years she stopped paying, and he's raising the 3 kids by himself. So this is not just men, this is also women. And so I said, get over there to the courthouse, and so he's going to do that, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in that case.
First step is, do you have an order? Because what's different about Toni's case is that she had a valid order from 1970. So this wasn't like she thought about it 50 years later, like, oh, maybe I should have asked for child support back then or at some point. She had an order in place. So that's the first step, locate that order. Once you've located that order, then I would recommend contact an attorney, see is everything there, is this order valid, is it still enforceable, and then with the help of the attorney, what Toni did is she went down to the Department of Child Support Services, which I would highly recommend either way. Go down there, have them serve your ex, have them calculate all of the arrears and find out what is the interest on this, and then with your attorney, go into court, work out an agreement, work out a payment plan, and have your attorney fight for you so that you can get every single penny you're entitled to.
Yay!
So DCSS, the Department of Child Support Services, the family code applies to both the family court system and the Department of Child Support Services. So whether you go to family court and ask the judge there to make orders regarding child support, or whether you go to the Department of Child Support Services, the laws are the same. What's different, a little bit different about family court versus DCSS is that DCSS is a government agency. They have a lot of powers that the family court does not have. For example, with DCSS, if you're ordered to pay child support and you don't pay, they have a lot of powers. For example, they will levy your bank accounts. They will levy your tax returns. They can go after your driver's license and your passport. So if you don't pay child support, they have ways of finding you, and they have ways of enforcing that order, or taking things away from you that the family court just can't do. And on top of that, with DCSS, they keep a record of every single payment you make for child support. So at the family court, for example, you might have a dispute. Did they pay? Did they not pay? With the Department of Child Support Services, you have a record there. You're required to pay child support, and you and your ex are having disagreements as to the amount, whether the payments are made. I actually recommend going to DCSS after you get your order, whether that's from family court, whether it's by stipulation, or whether it was DCSS originally. Have DCSS enforce it because they keep a record. And with that record, you'll know, okay, the payments are made, they're not made. And with that, they can calculate all of the interest, all of the arrears, and you can have a, unpaid child support of $35,000. That turns into $150,000. See, that's probably the one way you can get away with not paying child support, if there is no order in place. Because now, if your child emancipates, if your child is over the age of 18 or maybe 50 years old in some cases, and you never saw a formal order for child support, there's really nothing the court can do at that point, because there was nothing requiring this parent to pay child support. So going backwards in time, no. The reason why Toni's case is different is, again, she had an order in place. He just never paid it. And because of that, we have laws in the state of California that will continue forever, indefinitely. That's why there's no statute of limitations on child support, because I think the legislative intent here is pay your child support. Don't let your child go without financial support for all these years. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to avoid your financial obligation, then you're going to pay a lot in interest, and you're going to get, you're going to get dinged on this amount at some point. Because somebody like Toni is going to find you and come after you at the age of 70-something.
Something. Well, first of all, my attorney is the best. I mean, she'll have me for life, no matter what happens. I have to believe in God, and God, I believe, put this whole thing together, and it's been phenomenal, and all the stations that have been calling, it has blown our mind, because we had no idea this was happening. When I went into this, and I know I mentioned to Sarah at the very beginning, our first meeting here, is I really wanted, the money is yes important, but it's more of I wanted to make an impact on women that are afraid to come forward. And the thing is, they are afraid because the husbands threaten them, or they tell them they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do, and it scares the women. So, and even going into the Vista Courthouse, I was a little nervous, and so I can imagine someone who has all the negatives around them, like the husband not going to pay and all of this, it's really tough for these women. So the example that's come out is I'm sharing that it's easy process to do if you just have the time to do it yourself and not be afraid, but you can't listen to the men because they're going to say anything so that they don't pay child support. And what a shame this is for our young people today. I mean, the kids that don't have fathers, they end up repeating the same behavior that their parents had. They go and they get married too soon because they want to get out of the house because they didn't feel love there. And so this is just keeps snowballing. So we have to stop this in our tracks, and we have to start getting these women to be paid what's due them. We are paying, taxpayers, we're paying for their food stamps, we're paying for welfare, that's our tax dollar. So we as citizens that pay taxes, we're paying for these women, and it's not fair. And so we gotta make a stop to this. So this has been a huge thing that we've opened up, and I'm just hoping and praying that it keeps going, because I really want this to make a difference in the world.
And just touching on the issue of, welfare, food stamps, I think a lot of people don't realize this, but if you apply for food stamps, if you apply for welfare with the state, they are going to open a DCSS case with you, because now you owe that money to the state. So now you could owe, in your case, it was just straight to you. There was no state involvement. But if your ex and your child are now receiving food stamps or on welfare, you're going to owe this money back to the state, and they will come after you. They're going to come after every single penny of that, because it is not their obligation. It is not the taxpayer's obligation to support your child. That is your obligation. It's actually been really inspiring for me to work with somebody like Toni, because she came in here, her goal was to inspire other women in particular. Her goal was to help people collect child support and get rid of their fear, and to be able to go after somebody who, you know, intimidated them, bullied them all their lives, and go after them and get the money that you're owed. As far as the publicity behind it, I think it's been fantastic. I mean, that was the primary goal for you. You wanted to inspire people. And the fact that so many media outlets have reached out, that this has been all over the news, worldwide.
In Russia, I have
Canada,
I have a friend
everywhere.
who was in Antonyan, and he gets on the airplane and they hand him a UK newspaper, and there it is, the article. So it was like unbelievable. It's been unbelievable what's going on.
It is, and I think it's going to inspire a lot of people. I've referred to Toni as a superhero for single parents, because she really is. I think she's going to inspire people to say, you know what, she did it. She's 74 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She did it. Why can't I do it? So I think that the media attention behind it, it's been fantastic, and I think it's really going to make a difference. There's a reason why your story has become a hit. Everyone wants to read about it. I think there's something lacking there and in our society, and having her as the face of child support, as the face of deadbeat parents, like, go after them, that's what we needed. Thank you so much for coming down here and doing this interview with us. It's been a pleasure working with you and representing you. Honestly, you've inspired me, you've inspired other women, and I appreciate you trusting me with your case.
Totally trusting her. She's amazing, and I suggest everybody give this law firm a call and just see where you can go with your case and how she can help you. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to Antonyan Miranda's site ASAP.